Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night loving kindness meditation. My name is Alex. It's wonderful to be here with you tonight. It's really hot today. It's been really hot the last couple of days here in San Diego. Just along the coast, it was 90 degrees. So even though I'm sitting here and we have the fan on, I'm just kind of schwitzing all over. Right? That's okay. This is one of the things that we deal with in meditation, right? Any kind of discomfort, any kind of heat or cold or anything like that. That's what the Buddha did, so maybe I can do it too. So a lot of things have gone on between last week and now, a lot more protests. I even saw, and I posted this to my personal Facebook account, which I don't really post a ton, but Theravada monks marching in a protest over in Berlin, or I would say what looked to be Theravada monks. They have the same kind of color robe, but I don't want to say that's absolutely what it was. But it was nice to see, and they didn't hold up signs, and they weren't chanting or anything like that. But they were marching. What a beautiful sight. I'm a little calmer than I was last week because I was angry, and anger can be really, really useful. It can be really a strong emotion to then channel appropriately, because I don't want to act out in anger. That's not what I want to do. I want to transform that to compassion, right? To loving kindness. And but they're wonderfully good emotions to work with. And I think sometimes it's just really good to see someone up here leading a Buddhist meditation class saying, "Hey, I'm really angry about this." I get angry. I'm a human being. I have the entire range of emotions that human beings have, and hopefully so do all the other teachers. All right. So I was thinking about that a lot. Over this past week, and I was even thinking about, do I even want to tell these stories? Is it the right time? But I think it's the right time. And I'll tell one, and maybe I'll get to the second one. I'm not sure. But so that's what we're going to do. If there are any people here who are new to the Dharma Bum Temple online, or haven't been to this particular class before, you can say hi in the chat box. Would love to hear from you. The word that we talk about in Buddhism when we talk about loving kindness is this word called metta. And this is a wonderful, multifaceted word. It comes from an ancient language called Pali, which is close to what we think the Buddha spoke. And as with a lot of ancient words, when translated into English, you could have any number of translations because, it all depends on kind of context. And so it could be loving kindness, unconditional friendliness, goodwill, and it's simply a wish to be happy. A wish for us to be happy, a wish for others to be happy, and more importantly, a wish for others and ourselves to do the things that cause happiness. So our positive words, thoughts, and actions. That's what we really strive for. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this meditation on loving kindness. We're going to have a couple of one or two stories, I should say. And I'm sweating already. Sorry. All right. All right. So let's have a good time with this, and let's get into the right posture for meditation. If you're sitting on a chair, you just want to make sure that your feet are flat on the floor with your feet a few inches apart. Your back is nice and straight, so I like to make my back super duper straight and just kind of relax. So my core is still somewhat engaged, which keeps my back straight. If I slump or lean against the back too much, you can just kind of straighten back up again. That's okay. Right? Your hands can be anywhere that's comfortable, so I put them in my lap or on my legs. And sometimes I just kind of alternate them. I try to keep them still, and I try to keep as still as possible, but sometimes when I need to move, I'll just alternate them, and that's fine. Usually in the West, it's just easier to close your eyes, but if you don't want to do that, you can keep your eyes open. You can have them half closed with your eyes looking 45 degrees down past your nose. That's fine too. And that kind of soft and focused gaze. And, really, even though there are a lot of instructions for posture, they're designed to calm our mind and to calm our body, to give us the best shot for a concentrated meditation. Right? So, and they're really designed for comfort as well. So this might not seem comfortable at first, but if you meditate for a while, and after a while you'll see that, oh yeah, this kind of stable position is really, really comfortable. And so to kind of have the right attitude in meditation, even through all of our discomfort, we want to keep this attitude of no struggle. We don't want to struggle with our posture, and we don't want to struggle with the thoughts going in through our mind, because it's going to happen. Right? If you have to move, even though we try to get you to sit as still as possible, if you have to move, it's okay. Just make sure that you make small, mindful movements. If you make these kind of like herky-jerky movements, odds are you're going to want to move again really quickly. Right? So we want to try to prevent that and try to stay as still as possible. But again, if you need to move, sure, go ahead. All right. So, get handy dandy timer. Let's all take a deep breath. Let's stretch maybe before. You don't have to do that. I wanted to do that. All right. And let's begin. Just allow your eyes to close. Making sure you have that position, that seated position that's nice and comfortable and sustainable for you. So you're not likely to move around too much. So you can stay and be still. When the body is still, the mind can be still. When the mind is still, the body can be still. And when we sit like a Buddha. We can even imagine ourselves sitting underneath the Bodhi tree of enlightenment, just like the Buddha did. Just taking it one breath at a time. So let's just take a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. Not forcing the breath, letting it be quite easy and quite natural at first. Trying to be as still as we can. So we'll do this just for the next couple of moments as we get, or before we start our meditation on loving kindness. So just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. Following the breath all the way in and all the way out. And now to begin our meditation on loving kindness, unconditional friendliness, and goodwill. We're going to start with a benefactor. And again, a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness throughout our lives. It could be a family member, it could be a teacher, a best friend, someone you've seen on TV who you admire a lot. It could be the Dalai Lama. They could be living, they can be not living. So don't struggle with somebody. This should be pretty easy. Just when you think of them, your just heart gets warmer. And your smile just naturally comes across your face. And you can do this practice a couple of ways, either by repeating phrases like, may you be happy, may you be safe from inner and outer danger, may you be well in body and mind, may you be at peace and live at ease in this world. And you can repeat one or more of those phrases, or you can simply imagine this beam of loving kindness going from your heart to theirs. It could be any color. It could be a warm beam. It could be a cool beam. It even helps to smile when you do this. Or put your hand over your heart. You can do one or both of those. Just wishing them happiness, wishing them that they do the things that cause happiness. So for the next few moments, we'll do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor. now we can shift a little bit, and now from doing this practice for our benefactor, we can now imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. As much as you love and care about this benefactor, they probably love and care about you too. In fact, I'm pretty sure they do. So you can imagine them either saying these phrases for you, or you can imagine them shining their light of loving kindness onto you. The beam emanating from their heart, entering your heart, saying these phrases for you, if you want to use phrases. You can picture them in your mind's eye, just smiling down at you while this all happens. Sometimes it's really nice to put your hand over your heart, just to see, can I let this in? All this loving kindness that's coming from my benefactor. Can I allow it in? Can I receive it fully? If there's any tension or resistance, that's okay. So try your best to breathe into that. Allow it in some more. Smiling when you do. So we'll do this just for the next few moments. And now we can shift a little more from our benefactor doing this practice for us to now we do this practice for us. If you want, you can still put your hand over your heart in repeating these phrases of loving kindness for you. While you're doing so, just calling to mind your own wish to be happy, your own wish to be safe and protected and healthy, free from harm, free from pain, lamentation, grief. Because this is what we want, or this is what all of us want for ourselves. And it's okay to want this, and it's okay to do these phrases for you. You can search the whole world over, the Buddha says, and you'll never find someone more deserving of your loving kindness than you. This is the most important part of this practice. So if you feel any resistance, that's okay. Breathe into it. See if you can release that. Breathe into those areas of tension and discomfort. May I be happy. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. So we'll do this for the next few moments. Now finally, we can give all of this loving kindness away. All this loving kindness we've generated in our own heart. We can give it away without diminishing what we've already built up. That stays. We can just give this away. Just give as much of it away as we can. To all beings in all directions. To all beings who are victims of oppression. injustice, inequality, or any group of people you think could use some thoughts of loving kindness. Just do whatever your heart wants to do. And we'll end with this. So just open your eyes when you're ready. Let's just take the next about 60 seconds out in silence as you stretch your arms and stretch your legs. And if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box. I'll take any questions before we start our story, and then we'll do the story. Took a lot longer than 60 seconds. Sorry. I was getting my story straight. All right. But of course, always happy to take any questions if you have any questions. It could be about the meditation. It could be about Buddhism. It could be about what your experience of this particular meditation was. I'm always interested to know what that is for you. I don't get lots of those comments, so. But you felt something. You had some experience, and I'm always interested in it. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really mean that. If not, we'll just go to the story. I'll give it a few seconds.
So someone shared, thank you, that was awesome.
Good. Thank you. Glad it was awesome for you. It was awesome for me.
And Olivia also really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you, Olivia. It's wonderful. So the story I'm going to tell, and we'll see how this goes, whether I tell one story or two. This is called the Majjhima Nikaya. And Majjhima Nikaya just means middle-length discourses. In the Buddhist canon, the teachings are not chronological in any way. They're based on subject, theme, and some kind of other types of groupings. There's the connected discourses. The connected discourses, that book is like 2,000 pages long. This one, the middle-length discourses, is, let's see, with all of the endnotes, it's about 1,300 pages, 1,350 pages. And then there's the long discourses called the Digha Nikaya. And they're all just, they were grouped on like how long the sutra is. So it's just kind of interesting how they were grouped. And it's been this way for forever. Well, not forever, like 2,000 years when they started to write it down. And this story of Angulimala comes from the middle-length discourses. It is number 86. I don't know, I keep on putting my glasses down. I'm going to need them. This is number 86, on Angulimala. And what's interesting about this story and about Angulimala is that most of the story doesn't come from the sutra. The sutra is actually quite short. It's just a few pages long. Yeah, just a few, like, it's less than 10 pages long. It's like 8 pages. And most of it comes from the endnotes. So if you go to the endnotes of this particular book and look at the Angulimala part, it gives you a ton of backstory, And so that's where most of this story comes from, and only a little bit comes from, not a little bit, but a lot of important bits come from the main sutra, but a lot comes from the back. So I just wanted to let you know that Angulimala is actually really famous in Thailand. Yeah, it's Thailand. We'll tell you a little bit about that later. And I don't need the book for right now, so I'm just going to put it down, and I'm going to start this story. And Angulimala was known as the murderer saint. He was essentially a serial killer. He killed a lot of people, right? And this is a story of really the redemptive quality of the Dharma. And this is really meant as a metaphor, an allegory. So, there's so many people out there who, I'm in recovery, and when I first came into recovery, after a while, I kind of looked back at my life and said, "Oh, look at all of this horrible stuff that I did," and I started to feel really down about myself. And a lot of people go out of recovery and start drinking or using again because just the guilt of that is too much, and they can't face that sober. But even if you're not in recovery, there are so many people who look back at their life with so many regrets. I did this. I was like that back earlier in their lives. And so it makes forgiveness or self-forgiveness really, really difficult. And it's one of the reasons why when we do this loving kindness meditation, that doing this loving kindness for yourself is really, really hard. We are conditioned in this American culture really to kind of hate ourselves and always to kind of think about others and not really think about ourselves. And this is the wrong way to go. We need to think about ourselves first in a skillful way. I'll put it to you like that, in a skillful way. And if we get to the second story, more will be revealed then. We might not get to the second one, but if not, we'll do it next week. That's okay. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of weeks. You heard Jeff. We're not opening soon. So this story starts in India during the Buddha's time. And it starts with a minister of the king, or one of the kings, King Pasenadi. And he just had a baby. His wife just had a baby. And as you do back then, if you're a Brahmin, you have your chart done for the baby. So the baby's chart was done by the local sage, the local Brahmin priest, and he did his chart, and he looked very woefully at the father and said, "Unfortunately, your son was born under the robber's constellation, and he's going to grow up to be a really bad person, and really a lot of bad things are going to be come to him." And so he and his wife were just in this incredible dismay, like, what are we going to do? This Brahmin priest is saying that our kid is going to be some like horrible person when he grows up. What are we going to do? So they hatched a plan. They said, we are going to raise the most kind, gentle, obedient, generous person ever. Well, maybe not ever. Just really kind and obedient and generous and compassionate and wonderful and smart. All those different types of things. They're going to give him the best head start possible. And so they did. That's exactly how they raised him. And they named him Ahimsaka. And Ahimsaka means a harmless one. And so they raised little Ahimsaka to be kind and generous, smart, compassionate, all of those things, obedient. And he grew up this wonderful kid, this wonderful child. And he was very, very smart too, and fast and strong. And so it was time for him to go to university. And so he went to this wonderful university called Taxila. And it was the university of the day. That's where all the smart and the rich kids went. And so he was at this university. He was an excellent student, and he quickly became the teacher's pet. His teacher loved him dearly. He invited him to dinners at his home with his wife and his family, and he adored Ahimsaka, because Ahimsaka was not only a wonderful student, but he had all these wonderful qualities about him too. But the problem is, when you're the teacher's pet, and it's obviously that you're the teacher's favorite, what happens then? There's a lot of jealousy, animosity from the other students. And that's human nature. And this is a very human story. And, some of the other students were not very happy that Ahimsa was getting all of this attention. And so the students hatched a plan. And they said, this is not fair. So we're going to tell the teacher that Ahimsa is not a wonderful student or not a wonderful person, and that he is trying to take over his position and all of this type of stuff. And they're just going to make it seem like he's really, really bad. And so they hatched a plan. They said, okay, they're going to take 3 people and they're going to approach the teacher, the guru, separately at different times about how horrible Ahimsa is. And so the first student goes to the teacher privately and says, this Ahimsa seems nice, but I hear he's really just after your position. He wants to take your position. And the teacher goes, nonsense. He would never do anything like that. He's a perfect student, and he's a perfect role model. So go. And a little while, and so the student goes, and a little while later, another student approaches and goes, this Ahimsa guy, he really wants to take your position at the university. And he goes, no, that's horrible. He would never do anything like that. Go. And so he left. And then the third time, another student comes and says, this Ahimsa guy, he wants to not only take your position, but he wants to take your wife. I heard him saying that he wants to take your wife and take your family and take your position and just leave you and throw you out on the street. And after the third time, the die was cast. And then he said, well, it's 3 different people come to 3 at 3 different times separately. Can this be true? So he started to get a lot of anxiety and what am I going to do about this? And so it came time for graduation. And the guru says, all right, Ahimsa, before you can graduate, you must give me an honorarium. And the honorarium you must give me is, you must give me 1,000 index fingers from the right hand, 1,000 different people. And there was something about that very odd request that made Ahimsa snap. And you would think that maybe he would just go to the charnel ground and get 1,000 fingers there. But that's not what he did. He kind of went, I don't want to say go crazy, but he just kind of snapped. He just wasn't thinking at all. And he just started killing people, which was easy for him, unfortunately. He was strong. He was fast. He can take down 10, 20, 30 people at a time. And that's what he did. At first, he used to hide out on the side of the road that would go between, villages. And he would take somebody and he would just take them and subdue them, cut off their finger and kill them. And he kept on doing this, and he kept on doing this, and he kept on doing this. And he would put the fingers up on a tree somewhere, or on a rock or something like that. And the birds would come and they'd pick at it. And he didn't like that. So what he did was he strung them up on like a string, and he wore it around his neck. And if you were wondering why his name is Angulimala, Angulimala means finger necklace. And people would see him running around with his finger necklace killing people and and stringing more fingers on this necklace. Anguli means finger. Mala means, and you know what mala beads are, right? So there's the beads you wear around those Buddhist prayer beads, right? Those are mala beads. Mala means necklace or garland. And so Angulimala, finger necklace. So they called him finger necklace, and he was just known as finger necklace. You know, and so he would kill people, and he would kill some more people, and then people would stop going down that road because they knew that the murderer Angulimala was there. And so what he would do is he would actually start to go into the towns and into the villages and start killing people there. And he was just laying waste, and people would try to stop him. They couldn't stop him. He was too strong. He was too fast. And it was about this time his mother realized that she hadn't heard from him in a while, and the stories got back to all of the villages in the kingdom that there's this murderer, Angulimala. And she just knows it's him. She just knows it's a himsaka. She just knows it. You know, a mother knows. And she went to go find him. She absolutely went to go find him. It was about this time that the Buddha was traveling in this particular kingdom, and he was about to go down this road. And one of the monks, and this is kind of one of the parts I want to read to you. One of the monks stops the Buddha and says, "Do not take this road, recluse. On this road is the bandit Angulimala, who is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, merciless to living beings. Villages, towns, and districts have been laid waste by him. He is constantly murdering people, and he wears their fingers as a garland. Men have come along this road in groups of 10, 20, 30, even 40, but still they have fallen into Angulimala's hands." And so, you know, the second time and a third time, they try to warn the Buddha not to go down this road. But he did, because he's not scared of Angulimala, right? So he starts going down this road, and Angulimala sees him. And now at this point, Angulimala has a choice, you see, because to his left, he can see way down the road is this woman coming towards him. And on the other side, there was this recluse walking mindfully, walking slowly, walking peacefully. And it was the Buddha. And so he had a choice to make. His mother, the Buddha. He chose the Buddha. And it's a good thing he did. And I'll tell you, we'll get to that in just a little bit. So he sees the Buddha. And he goes, "Oh, this is going to be easy. I have 999 fingers. I only need one more to complete my honorarium for my guru and finish the university. I'll just get it from this recluse." And so he yells out to the Buddha, "Stop! Stop there, recluse." And the Buddha just keeps on going peacefully. And so Angulimala, who is super fast, he starts walking a little faster. He starts walking a little faster, trying to catch up to the Buddha. And he can't, even though the Buddha is going at this very slow, mindful pace still. You see the Buddha's playing a little supernormal trick on him, which is, he can do that, right? He's the Buddha. And so now Angulimala is going, "What is going on? I'm going faster and faster and faster, and I catch up, and suddenly he just starts running as fast as he can. He's just busting loose. He's running and running and running as fast as he can. The Buddha's just walking mindfully, slowly, slowly. He can't catch up. He can't catch up to the Buddha. And he finally stops. He goes, stop! Stop, recluse, stop! He's like out of breath. Stop! Stop! And then here's what the Buddha says to that. I have stopped, Angulimala. You stop too. Then the bandit Angulimala thought, these recluses, sons of the Sakyans, speak truth, assert truth. But though this recluse is still walking, he says, I have stopped, Angulimala. You stop too. Suppose I question him. Then the bandit Angulimala addressed the Blessed One in stanzas thus. While you are walking, recluse, you tell me you have stopped. But now, when I have stopped, you say I have not stopped. I ask you now, O recluse, about the meaning. How is it that you have stopped and I have not? And the Buddha goes, Angulimala, I have stopped forever. I abstain from violence towards living beings, but you have no restraint towards things that live. That is why I have stopped, and you have not. And then Angulimala, he just gets it. He just gets it. And he goes, oh, at long last, this recluse, a venerated sage, has come to this great forest for my sake. Having heard your stanza teaching me the Dharma, I will indeed renounce evil forever. And he did. He fell at the Buddha's feet. He renounced evil forever. And he asked to be included in the Sangha of monks. And Angulimala and the Buddha goes, Ehu bhikkhu, which means come bhikkhu. And when the Buddha says, come bhikkhu, that means you're in. You're in the Sangha, just like that. And so you might be thinking, well, why did the Buddha think this man, Angulimala, was even worth saving after killing so many people? You see, what he did was he surveyed Angulimala's mind, and he discovered that the reason that he was killing all these people wasn't out of anger. It was out of ignorance. And so he said, okay, he's worth saving. So I'm going to do just that. And he did. And it's a good thing he did, because the choice was between killing the Buddha or killing his mother, which he would have done. And if you don't know anything about Buddhism or anything like that, if you kill your mother or your father, that's like 100,000 eons in a hell realm. That's a long time. That is a long time. Matricide, patricide, very, very bad. Very, very bad. So it's a good thing that he stopped Angulimala when he did. So Angulimala was admitted into the Sangha of monks. And it was about this time that the reputation of Angulimala had reached the king, King Pasenadi. And he listened to what his ministers were saying, and he was very, very kind of distraught and upset, because he knew he had to gather all of his men to catch one guy. And that's exactly what he did. He gathered all of his men and said that he was going after the bandit Angulimala. So he was going to kill him. And so what a lot of times they did before they went off to battle or did some sort of big campaign or something like that, plus, the king Pasenadi was a lay follower of the Buddha already. He went to the Buddha to kind of get a blessing. And so he goes to the Buddha where he was staying, and he says, I have to catch this murderous Angulimala. And the Buddha goes, what if I told you that this murderous, bloodthirsty Angulimala has renounced evil forever, that he abstains from killing, lying, intoxicants, all sexuality, and that he now wears the robes of a monk, and he's peaceful. What would you do then? So, oh, well, I would give him alms, and I would do all these things that I would do for any other monk. So the Buddha turns and says, this is Angulimala. And the king just kind of looks back in shock and like, what? And the king was actually kind of relieved because he knew that he was going to lose a lot of men trying to hunt down Angulimala. So he just let him be. Okay, that's fine. And he goes back to the palace. Now you might think that, well, this is where the story ends. Happily ever after, Angulimala. Thank you so much. No. Angulimala has some training to do. He's now a monk in training. And as a monk in training, you have to meditate. And his meditations are not going well. They're going horrible, as a matter of fact. He's sitting there, he's meditating, and these thoughts pop up in his head about all the times where he killed people. All the times where he subdued somebody, he took their finger, he was going to slay them, and the person was saying, please don't kill me, I have a wife, I have a family, I have children, I have to take care of them, please don't kill me, take my finger, but please don't kill me. And he just killed them anyway. He did that to hundreds of people, 999 of them, as a matter of fact. He didn't care who he killed or who he laid waste to, what villages, districts, towns. Killed them all, and all of these thoughts came up for him in meditation. Just like they come up for us when we meditate. All these things that we've done throughout our lives, all these horrible things we think we've done. So things aren't really going well for him. And people out in the villages and the districts found out that Angulimala was part of the Sangha of monks and was peaceful as a lamb now, that he wouldn't harm anybody. So Angulimala went by these villages with his alms bowl and his robe, peaceful, walking mindfully. And so these are people who had their family members killed. And do you think they're all just forgiving because the Buddha forgave him? Is that how humans would act now? No. And it certainly wasn't how the humans acted then. They threw rocks and sticks at him. They tore his robes. They broke his bowl. They bloodied his face because they knew he wouldn't retaliate. And they were very angry. And bruised and bloodied and battered, Angulimala comes back to the Buddha. And the Buddha says, bear it, Raman, bear it. What did you think was going to happen? This is just karma. If you bear it, it will stop. And one day, shortly thereafter, he's walking slowly and mindfully, and he walks by this home with this woman who's pregnant, and the baby hasn't turned all the way, and the baby is kind of sideways, and this woman's in unbearable pain as the baby just won't turn fully to be born. He doesn't know what to do. It's the first time that his compassion really welled up in him, and he knew that he needed to do something. And so he goes back to the Buddha and he goes, what do I do? And the Buddha goes, go to this woman and you tell her, since I have been born, I have never knowingly killed or harmed another human being. By this truth, may you be safe, may your baby be safe. And, Angulimala goes, I can't tell her that. That's a lie. That wouldn't be truthful. And the Buddha goes, all right, tell her this. Ever since my noble rebirth, I have never knowingly harmed another human being. By this truth, may you be safe, may your baby be safe. Ever since I became a member of the Sangha, since my noble rebirth, I have never harmed another living being. Another living being. By this truth, may you be safe, may your baby be safe. And the baby turned. And the baby was born safely. And the news got back to the Buddha, the news got back to the people that Angulimala, this formerly bloody-handed, murderous robber baron, saved this woman through what seemed a miracle. And over time, people began to love Angulimala. But, Angulimala lived most of the rest of his life in isolation. I don't know why exactly. My guess is because he just had killed so many people. He just wanted to be, and a lot of people were still not super happy, I would imagine. So he just stayed in isolation, or relative isolation. But he became an enlightened member of the Buddha's Sangha of monks, fully enlightened. From this murderous, bloody-handed guy who would kill 999 people, didn't even think about it, to an enlightened being. So whatever you think that you've done that's so horrible and unforgivable, that you don't deserve happiness, look what happened to Angulimala. If he can do it, you can probably do it too. Because what you did is probably not anything near what Angulimala did. That's the redemptive quality of the Dharma. That is the forgiveness that you can expect from yourself, maybe even from others, if you keep on practicing this path. I love telling this story, and it's one of my favorite stories to tell. So that is the end of that story. And that's probably the only one we'll have time for today. We'll do another one next week. So I will actually take any questions about the story, about the meditation, about Buddhism, about whatever you want to ask me is perfectly fine.
So Katie shared, I got lost in wishing myself well, which is indeed the hardest part. Is it helpful to extend out wishing others well? For example, enemies, the world, etc., then go back to myself.
I would just stay with yourself. Just stay there. And kind of what I said during the instructions, put your hand over your heart and listen. Feel for any resistance. Because you'll feel some resistance in your body, most definitely. And you'll feel some resistance in your mind, of course. And as much as you can, Katie, stay. Just stay. Don't go off to some distraction about other people or the enemy or neutral people or any of that. Stay. This is the path of the warrior. When something gets uncomfortable, we stay. We don't go do something else. We sit here and we realize that it's there. We recognize this discomfort. To the best of your ability, just breathe into whatever it is. The contents of this, whatever comes up is irrelevant. And a lot of times it's the content of what comes up that makes our mind kind of start to spin. It makes us want to run away. But see what you can do to stay. Know the truth of these thoughts, that these thoughts are just impersonal. They are impermanent, have nothing to do with you, really. And the more you can stay, or the longer you can stay, and the more you can practice this, the next time it comes up, you'll say, oh, I remember this. I can stay through this. I can stay. And you don't have to get caught up in whatever the thoughts are that's irrelevant. Stay with the breath and breathe into whatever discomfort in your body that you feel. So try that. Thank you, Katie. Well, if there are no further questions, it's okay. Remember to stay safe. If you're in San Diego, know that they're opening up some more things starting on Friday. That doesn't mean it's safe. So please take care of yourself. Take care of others by doing so. And is there a question before we go? No? Okay. So let's just join our palms together at our hearts, please. And may the benefits of this meditation, this discussion, these stories be received by all beings. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be in peace. May all beings be joyful and may all beings be happy. May all beings be loved and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are. Thank you for coming. All right, guys, so we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye now. I love you all.